Hey guys, it's Ross. I don't know who else it would be, but it's me. And I just want to make this video for you guys, a couple videos that are going to come out in a row here on what's going on in the garden right now. And it's April, it's the beginning of April. It's only April 8th here today. It's a Sunday. And I've really been taking a lot of time to get a lot of things done the past couple days. Any time that I have, with tax season, almost ending here, we only have a little bit left. I would still like to take advantage of April, and that's why I'm making this, because I really want you guys to see this video in a timely fashion and then see what I'm doing now, so that when you guys see what I'm eating later, you understand, the crop I'm getting because I had planted then, back in April. So right now, a lot of you guys are complaining. I know a lot of people in like the online gardening communities that live in the Northeast are complaining about the poor weather we've been having, and personally I think the weather has been great. Other than the snow we've had in March, we had 2 freak snowstorms. We were supposed to get snow this weekend, sorry, but it ended up not happening for us. It didn't end up happening for most of, I think, that they had predicted. And personally, I think spring is certainly here. There is a groundhog in my backyard. For those of you who live in Pennsylvania, or even if you don't live in Pennsylvania and you guys like, what's up with Pennsylvania and their groundhogs? Personally, I could care less about a groundhog telling me when spring is here. But there is a groundhog in the backyard who roams all over this property, and he is awake for sure. He's roaming around doing his thing. So in my mind, groundhog aside, my gardener's intuition is telling me spring is certainly here. And in April, I think you guys need to take advantage of planting things now rather than waiting, because it's just the early bird gets the worm, and here in this climate where I live particularly, like the Mid-Atlantic is a great example. If you live in the Mid-Atlantic, so I'm like on the edge of the Mid-Atlantic, not necessarily the Northeast, you could say, but if you live in a Mid-Atlantic climate, even far down as Georgia, I would recommend it's maybe even too late for people in Georgia, but it's going to warm up real quick here soon. And we get blasted with a lot of heat in the summer. Come June, the end of June, we're really hot. We're kicking. And that creates a problem for a lot of crops like lettuces and brassicas. Brassicas are like broccoli and cabbages and all. There's a huge amount of brassicas out there. It also causes a problem for things like carrots. I could go on and on. Snap peas. So you can really take advantage of this bad weather we've been having. I know a lot of you guys, it kind of like is teasing us. I think that's what people are complaining about, is that we're getting into spring and then it just decides to snow, or it just decides to be cold. Well, that's what spring is here, we kind of get those freak weird things to happen, and that's just a part of what it is. And that way, when it's cold, we can now take advantage of things that actually like the cold. So what I have done is that I have a broccoli bed behind me. Actually, it's more of a brassica bed. There's like tons of cabbages in there. I also have like rapini. Do you guys know what rapini is? Rapini is like an Italian broccoli that is also called asparagus broccoli. So we're gonna get into that. But yeah, let me show you guys what's behind me and stop talking. And in the next couple videos, I just want to show you guys, what else is going on in the garden. And then that way you guys can get some kind of an idea of what maybe you should be doing right now to prepare for your season, because I'm going to be eating all kinds of brassicas, all kinds of lettuces, really in a very short time. So let me show you guys. So behind me here, this is the bed, and this is my full sun bed. This gets the most amount of light. I have 3 different beds, and I've gone over this in my previous videos, but this gets the most amount of light. It also is the warmest here. And I've proven to you guys in a previous video that this is the warmest location of my yard, this little stretch right here, even part of this bed. And you can see here that that is a flower sprout plant. Now this is something you can get from Johnny's Seed Company. They're called flower sprouts or kale sprouts. And you can see here that on these flower sprout plants are these little kale like Brussels sprouts. So you can break this off, and it's very in taste similar to a Brussels sprout. And what I really love about these compared to Brussels sprouts is that these kalelettes here, they call them, these really cook well in the pan. Or if you really want to get the edges of these things brown, they do much better in my opinion than like your standard Brussels sprout that's really more difficult to brown. And this gets a more crispy, in my opinion, a crispier texture. And I think the chefs, you know, of America, or the chefs around, should really be enjoying this plant. What I want to show, I mean, you know what's interesting though about this whole thing though, is that this thing perennialized here. This thing stayed here all winter time. I had it staked up with a trellis system I had going on here. And then I let it droop down onto the ground here, onto this, and the water got collected and it kind of killed a lot of these leaves. And the plant's not doing so hot right now, but it is alive and it is growing. And what's nice though is that if this whole thing dies, which I may let it die, because what's coming out right now is actually, I think, a kalelet. It looked like a kalelet originally, you know, one of these guys, like one of these. But I think it's like a sucker now that's coming up from the roots or from the base. It's actually attached, I think, down here. And this is a whole new, it looks like a whole new flower sprout plant. So I have overwintered Brussels sprouts here. Well, technically not Brussels sprouts, but you know, that's incredible. I don't know if that's supposed to happen here. I don't think it is, but what I'll end up doing, I think I'm going to let this go to seed and then let this here grow and replace it. And now I have a whole new plant here that I can even plant a couple of them, you know, along this bed here, along this post, and have them there all winter time and have like Brussels sprouts all winter. You know, I could have been harvesting these. It didn't really grow all that much in the winter time, but it did put out quite a few of these well into the fall and into the early winter. And now it's actually been starting to grow now. So we've got like just a really interesting microclimate here, that in zone 7, where it reached -1 degrees here, is now being able to overwinter a Brussels sprout plant. So I find that to be extremely interesting. And hopefully you guys can use the knowledge that I have gained and showing you now through this video to benefit from this. Maybe it has something to do with the variety here that I have got from Johnny's. Don't remember the variety offhand, but I'll put it in the description of this video. But anyway, back to the bed itself, is that we have some broccoli that I started. And this broccoli, I actually have started a crap ton inside of many different brassicas. And this is like a normal heading broccoli. And this, so we planted yesterday, my girlfriend and I, Leanne. And then here we actually have some carrots that I had planted, directly seeded them in the ground. And they're nowhere to be found. And I don't know, I don't know why that is. Maybe we planted them too deep. You know what? I think it largely has to do with the fact that the soil isn't warm enough. And the carrots, the problem with the carrots, at least in this area, is that they need a pretty high temperature to germinate well. And that doesn't usually happen here in April. And then what ends up happening is that by the time they do germinate, it's too late in the season and it gets too hot too quick, and then the carrots don't grow well and you don't get really a reliable crop. So a lot of farmers in the area who I know of, they end up growing a lot of their carrots in the fall. So I may have to wait, but you know, it is what it is. If I can't get the carrots going right now, I can always plant some more brassicas that I have inside and stick them here. You know, I also have plenty of seeds that I have planted as well. And I just decided to direct seed a lot of things. Even though I had started them inside, I wanted to see how things would do direct seeded. And you can see here, you know, if I get real close, here's an entire row. This is probably broccoli. I don't remember offhand. You know, here's another row 6 inches apart. Here's another row of probably cabbage, some kind of cabbage or some kind of broccoli. What I had chosen this year was to grow not necessarily the heading broccoli here that you see here that gets full heads, but I decided to grow rapini. And rapini is very similar to, it's also called asparagus broccoli, I think. I mean, they may be slightly different plants, or some people may call them broccoli rabe. I know my Italian family calls it broccoli rabe here in the United States. But rapini, I believe, is what they call it in Italy. And what you end up doing is you end up getting these very small heads of broccoli rather than a giant head. And you can pluck off the tips of those heads plus the couple leaves, and you get like a stem. And the stem's very sweet. The whole thing's very sweet, and it honestly tastes like better than asparagus. So, and it looks like asparagus. So it's really interesting, that kind of crop. And then what also we have down here is, again, more broccoli, more cabbage. And you know, let's just count the rows here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 rows of many brassicas, and you might be thinking to yourself, plus these broccoli here. And I also planted on the other side of the flower sprout is the bok choy, and bok choy is really good. But you might be thinking to yourself, this stuff's really close together. What am I going to do? Well, I don't know yet. We're going to push this to the limit and see how much food I can grow in this little small space. You know, broccoli, as an example, that's a heading broccoli, really needs like at minimum 1 square foot of space per plant. And this is like 6 inches apart. You know, this is 6 inches right here. This is 6 inches. You know, that's a little bit more. That's a little bit more over there, but you know, I really didn't give these broccoli plants much space. And in between these rows of seeds that are coming up now, you know, that's only 6 inches between the 2 rows. And this is going to get real crowded real quick. And I'm going to have to thin a lot of this out, obviously. I mean, a lot of this is germinated here. You can tell the soil temperature is perfect. You know, almost all the seeds I have put in the ground now are germinating. You know, this is the time, guys. So this is kind of what I wanted to show you about this bed. But lastly, before I let you guys go, is that we also have some fennel in here. For those of you who like fennel, fennel to me tastes a lot like licorice. You can do some interesting things in the kitchen with this. And then over here, lastly, we have snap peas that I planted. And snap peas, I swear to God, I swear, is one of the best crops you can grow. In terms of being rewarded, I think they taste honestly one of the best. And here they are right here coming up right now. And you can see them everywhere, all throughout this 4-foot space here that I have. So anyway, guys, that was it. And I hope I have inspired you to now get your stuff in the ground and get some stuff going for you guys, because the clock's ticking, you know. As soon as we get out of April, things are going to get real warm, and these broccolis and the brassicas and lettuces are not going to grow very quickly, or grow at all. In fact, they might bolt. So get on it, guys.